Your retirement account balance is making you feel broke. But according to 45 million real Fidelity accounts, you're probably richer than 70% of America. Before we get into the signs, though, I need to explain why this feeling of being behind exists in the first place. Because there is a very specific reason why smart, careful, financially disciplined people walk around convinced they are losing. Think of it this way. You have been running a marathon for years. You have been pacing yourself, making sacrifices, skipping the things other people seem to enjoy freely. And you are actually way ahead of most runners. But instead of looking at your own mile markers, you have been staring at someone else's highlight reel. The vacations, the new cars, the renovated kitchens on social media. You are reading a scoreboard that has nothing to do with the actual race you are running. And that fake scoreboard is lying to you. Everything I'm about to show you is designed to pull your attention back to the real numbers. And those numbers might genuinely shock you. Sign number 1. You have an emergency fund. I know that sounds incredibly basic. But here is why it matters more than you think. According to a Bankrate survey, 56% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency from their savings. Not a medical catastrophe, not a layoff, a single $1,000 surprise. And this number has barely budged in over a decade despite bull markets and record corporate profits. This is not a temporary blip. This is how most of America is structurally living. One flat tire, one broken furnace, one unexpected bill away from a financial spiral. If you have even 2 or 3 months of expenses sitting in a savings account right now, you are outperforming somewhere between 60 and 70% of the country on one of the most fundamental measures of financial health. You probably do not feel that way. You probably look at that balance and think it should be bigger. That is the fake scoreboard talking again. But what really matters is not how much you have saved for emergencies. It is what happens when you do not have anything saved at all, and the retirement numbers I'm about to show you make that painfully clear. Sign number 2. Your retirement savings are above the median for your age group. This is the one that tends to leave people speechless because the actual numbers are far lower than anyone expects. Using Fidelity's data from their massive pool of real accounts, the median 401k balance for someone in their 20s is about $5,000. In your 30s, around $11,000. 40s, roughly $36,000. 50s, approximately $60,000. And remember, these figures only include people who actually have a retirement account. About 30% of private sector workers do not even have access to one. Factor those people in and the real median drops even further. So what does $60,000 actually produce at retirement? Using the 4% rule, that generates $200 per month. Combine that with the average Social Security payment, and you are scraping by at just above the poverty line with zero margin for error. If you are in your 40s with more than $36,000 saved, you are already above the middle. If you are in your 50s with more than $60,000, same thing. These are not ambitious targets. These are the real medians. And a huge number of people who feel devastatingly behind are actually sitting above them. The problem is they have been measuring themselves against some idealized savings trajectory they found on the internet, instead of against where actual Americans stand. But knowing where you rank is only part of the picture. The third sign is what truly separates the people who will be comfortable from those who will struggle, and it has nothing to do with how much you earn. Sign number 3. You are actually investing your money, not just saving it. This distinction sounds subtle, but over decades it creates an enormous gap. Inflation has averaged roughly 2.8% annually over the last 30 years. If you have $50,000 parked in a traditional savings account, earning basically nothing, you are quietly losing about $1,400 a year in purchasing power. Your balance looks the same every day. It just buys less every year. Now take that same $50,000 and put it into a basic index fund 30 years ago. Through every crash, every recession, every panic, historically that money would have grown to approximately $980,000. Same starting point, one different choice. Nearly $1 million difference. And yet close to half of American adults own no stocks at all. Among those who do invest, most dramatically underperform the market not because they pick bad funds, but because they make emotional decisions. They panic sell during downturns, and buy back in near the top. Research shows the average investor trails the index by 3 to 4 percentage points per year purely because of behavioral mistakes. So here is what you should actually do with all of this. First, calculate your real net worth today. Add up everything you own and subtract everything you owe. Compare that number to the Federal Reserve's data, not to your neighbor's driveway. Second, if you do not have 3 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account, make that your immediate priority. That buffer is not just defense, it is what keeps every other financial decision from falling apart. Third, automate your investments and then create as much distance as possible between yourself and the sell button. The boring, consistent, automated investor beats the clever, active trader almost every single time. That is not opinion. That is decades of evidence. Stop reading the wrong scoreboard. You might already be winning.